Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 4 of Conversations About America, where we talk about important and relevant topics. My distinguished panel is Robert Gonzalez, author of a great book called Eagle's Claws for Freedom's Cause, Quinten Ford, host of a great talk show called Let's Talk, and Michael Landingham, presidential candidate in 2020 and again in 2024. I feel privileged to have all you gentlemen. Welcome.
Hi,
Thank you.
Steve.
Thanks for having us, Steve.
Thank you for being here. So last week we talked about the Civil War, and today we're going to talk about the Civil Rights Movement. And one thing that we just barely touched on last time, I asked the question, did the people that were supposed to be set free with the end of the Civil War, were they really set free? And I'm glad I have two African-American gentlemen here that can put a good light on that. I'm sure you have some opinions on that. So let's start out by talking about the 13th Amendment. I think that's a good place to start, which said neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Did you notice the loophole?
Yeah, that was the condition
Yeah,
in the amendment, and I think that is something that a lot of people ignored for probably 50, 60 years.
yeah,
And then when they decided to build the prison industrial complex, and then people started being aware, like, hold up, we got a generation of prisoners.
yeah.
It all goes back to that 13th Amendment, and it's really it's really sad, as we would say,
Yeah.
that they made a condition where we can basically have a segment of people who are slaves, literally slaves, and it's legal.
Yeah. And I think that they put that in there intentionally. I don't think it was a mistake or a bad choice of words. That was the intention, right?
Yeah, I think that, like what we discussed last week, when you go back to the original slave catcher unit, how it morphed into the police and law enforcement, to throw that amendment in there, it was kind of set up to be that way. That was the intention, the long-term effects. And it's interesting because we discussed last week how technically the North won, but I think if we look back at it now, they won, but the South really won when it comes to policies, laws that were enacted. How President Johnson reversed a lot of stuff that Abraham Lincoln actually tried to do, and it's really interesting that now a generation and a half is starting to realize those laws were put in place to basically keep the status quo.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about that, Bob?
What was Andrew Johnson? Was he a Republican or a Democrat or something else?
I don't
Democrat,
remember, to be
Republican,
honest
I
with
think.
you.
Yeah,
Democrat,
I'll have
Republican,
to look that up. But one interesting thing, though, about the 13th Amendment is that it had 100% Republican support, and they were the ones that got it through. And like we said last week, I think if Lincoln had able to live, I think that things would have gone a lot smoother. And and with even to this day, they'd be smoother than they are. I think that Andrew Johnson set the seeds for what we have today.
Yeah. Michael, you want to weigh in on that?
Well, yeah, I appreciate everybody's input, and I agree with 100% what y'all said. Overall, we haven't never
Michael, you froze
really
up.
fully healed. After that, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going in and out.
Dadgummit.
You're okay
Can you
right
hear me
now.
clearly now?
You're okay right now.
Okay. All right. So we have never, as a nation, has ever healed from the Civil War. And there were policies that were set at right after the Civil War with Lincoln, where they had appointed a general called Olive H. Howard to lead a free man's bureau to have African Americans to have free land, conservation, boot tracks, never appropriate the money. So overall, we have never healed. And then you have the other side educationally with the whites teaching that about Black people, that we're the scums and we're the problems of why they can't get ahead, instead of looking at their leaders that are taking away the very vital things that they need and pocketing it because of the following.
He froze again.
You know what I'm saying? The people. Overall, I believe that what they fear right now, even the Democrats, Biden, and all the rest of them, I'm not a fan of them. I'm sorry, I'm not. They know the history of it because they've been a part of it leading up to now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Joe Biden signed the 94 crime bill. That George Floyd, honestly, George Floyd to die under the hands of the police and every other African American under the 90 crime bill. First of all, we got to realize the reality.
Michael, you're constantly going in and out. We're only catching
we have
half
to.
of what you're saying.
Yeah, Mike, you keep freezing. I know.
Right,
I know.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you just fine now.
I had to take on my Bluetooth. That's the only way. I can't hear you, but you can hear me. All right. So overall, they have lied to us. This two-party system has lied to us, has led us to this point right here, right now. We could have been solved this as free people. That's the reason why there's no other country on earth that people can come to and still relevate in the same volume, at the same oh, come on, help me out, somebody. The same viewpoint overall, because we're human beings. We're on the same planet, only America. But you have the power structure of America, Republicans and Democrats, to try to confuse us of the status quo of what's going on now.
Yeah.
That's why my life was threatened. I know what's going on. You do. Everybody else on this page, you know, on this topic, on this the live show that we're talking about, do. But we've been so divided, we can't put it together. But overall, with me, I'm kin to some individuals that give it some time. You'll investigate. But right now, we're talking about the status quo. The status quo has not proved to show how we can come together to solve the most dire issues that we're facing. And when it comes to after the Civil War, it's been that linkage to show that African Americans were never proven to be as equal as white men. And my great grandfather was white. So I got a unique, distinct way of how to bring people together with the understanding of the divisions of the fears that we hold so-called most dear. We have to change from it. We have to stop using fear as the catalysm of how and what America's supposed to be. I'm telling you, 2 + 2 still equals 4. And overall, what we face here, right here and now, I'm telling you, do not trust Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or the heads of the Democratic Party. They're no good.
Yeah.
They are softballing on everything that we're trying to accomplish as progressives. I don't care what party you for, Republican, Democrat, but right now at the same time, what we're going through, there's got to be a progressive movement on this. We have to stop looking at, I'm black, you're white, I'm rich, you're poor, you're right, I'm wrong. because of what the lie has been told to us. We need to wake up. And so overall, I just want to say this, and I'll let y'all talk, and I'm done. But overall, we cannot heal this country without talking about the racial issues that has plagued us for so long and has divided us for so long that the two parties has been using to keep power until this time.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
Okay, thanks, Michael. I agree, and that's really one of the reasons I wanted to do this this show, and especially this topic, because the history it's pretty much all the same story. And it goes on the 14th Amendment. Let me just throw that one out there. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. And did you catch the without due process of law in there? That goes back to the 13th Amendment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. And then we have, like you said, it's always amazing that when you go back into those older laws and how coming up to this time, a lot of bills get passed that actually make amendments to these laws. I know that with the Patriot Act, we've been a country that, quote unquote, was established on dissent. And now when you look at what's going on is that the dissenting opinion, the dissenting voice is literally being silenced when it comes to media, when it comes to being able to, going back to the First Amendment, freedom to assembly. Our freedoms, our civil liberties are being taken away, and we're signing them away slowly but surely by voting these people in and don't realize what they stand for and what they're passing. One of the things that Michael brought up that's interesting is the issue of race. And we all know that racism does exist. Racism has been a system in this country, but everything does not derive with race. We need to understand that we are being played. We're being played against each other in a major way, I believe.
Yeah.
And we're falling for what I would say is the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Correct.
Going all the way back to, we're allowing people to take away other people's due process. If you make a person a villain long enough, you won't even care if they've been charged or they've been due process. We don't even care. We just feel like, okay, they said he's a villain or she's a villain or this ideology is bad. We're just going to do away with all the rights that they have as a human being and that the quote unquote forefathers have established because they say he's bad and they say she's bad. And we're headed down a very dangerous path.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, let me stop you, brother. We are heading down a dangerous path, but here's the thing about America and our Heavenly Father, how beautifully everything works, about democracy and how God works. Now, my story, what happened to me, you're gonna have to research this, but we're gonna talk.
Froze up again, brother.
About now, but we'll get into this. Regardless of what we're going through, there's a divine intervention in the works, and we are all part of it. And people are going to look at us more than CNN or anybody else now and later on for the truth. And here's the truth: they fear something that they don't understand, and they saw something in me that can bring it out to everybody, blacks, whites, and everybody. And with what you said, brother, I can't think of your name, but what you said, you put on you said something that hit something that better than I can explain it. And when it comes to the race issue, it's not all about race, but the ones who are trying to keep power and the ones that are weak are trying to make it about what race. And that's the ones who have power now. And they're trying to make it look like it's us doing it all about race. And it's not. We've been begging white people to view what we've been going through, not blaming all white people, but just saying like, hey, we need help. But we had a civil war. And so there had to be enough white people to say, hey, we don't condone this, right? So I can only imagine right now how many white people right now feel the same way as the ones before the Civil War started. So what we need to do is, you have the status quo. You have Russia, you have China, you have Trump involved with Russia trying to divide us. And on top of our government, with the two-party system trying to divide us. For those minority of those individuals to keep power, but to paint African Americans or minorities as the problems of what white Americans are going through. No, that is not the truth. This is America. You make your choices. If you F up, you F up. That is you. But don't try to let the government tell you or the news tell you what you're supposed to be or whatever everybody else is supposed to be to come together. And that's why I was threatened, because I see that. And I'm not afraid to talk that. Do I have all the answers? No. I have the answers to bring people together. And then once that happens, then all the answers will take place and somebody take over.
Bob, what do you think about that?
Well, I just from what we were talking about before, I looked it up. Andrew Johnson was a Democrat.
Okay.
Yeah, which is
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a foreign concept, in today's world. Everybody runs to the same party. But anyway, one thing I want to point out, though, with all these amendments, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, and even the 1964 Civil Rights Amendment, I mean, this isn't my area of expertise. I looked this stuff up, but it was mostly Republicans that supported all that. And for some reason, Republicans get a bad rap all the time. They're the ones who always seem to be, the ones who are not very friendly to people. But if you look at the facts, they're the ones who are supporting all this.
Bob, it's interesting you put that up, because I'm a registered independent. As a former resident of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania is still one of those states where you can register as an independent. I know in a lot of states you have to register either Democrat or Republican. And one of the biggest issues that I have is I try to tell people that I grew up with that look like me, the Democrats are not who you think they are. And a lot of them go back to wanting to talk about the Dixie Democrats and stuff like that. And I'm like, even up until this day, if you just say, if you're on Twitter and you just follow the House and Congress, and if you look at these people's voting records, because all this is public information, if you look at the voting records, you'll be shocked at a lot of what a lot of the Democrats in these super pro-liberal areas really vote on. One of the other things is I'm not going to say I'm a fan of the former president 45, or I'm definitely not a fan of 46. One of the biggest things that the DNC did on a big scale is their campaign to prove or to insinuate that 45 was racist was one of the most masterful jobs ever. And the reason why I say that is because by basically proving that he's racist or showing that he has racist views, it locked a lot of the minorities in to continue to vote for the Democratic Party.
Wait, I gotta stop you there, brother. Wait, I gotta stop you there. I'm sorry. Therefore, Donald Trump is racist because he came after me December 10, 2018, and you never heard of me. And now Joe Biden knows about it. That's why he came to Cleveland. I guess I got to tell you, I don't want to get you too confused, because you got to know the truth. He threatened my life because he's racist. I'm kin to George Washington, Robert E. Lee, and the Sons of the American Revolution. And if you look at my Facebook page, I'll show you the proof of it. He's racist to the core. So you're wrong. And then here's the thing, another thing I might have to disagree with you on. The
Pros again.
Democrats were once, sorry,
No,
I'm sorry,
no,
let me back that up. Sorry.
Michael, I understand that a lot of things happen with the
Okay, okay,
Dixiecrats.
okay,
I get
but Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is a racist life. I'm the only president with Joe Biden right now. So whatever we're talking about right now, the full truth is not out. So that's why we're still trying to figure everything out. But all I can say, brother, is this: research me. I'm not going to talk about it right now. We're talking about how we can come together. How we can come together is a heal for the racial divisions. That's it. Race, the color of our skin is the reason why America is so divided. That's it. That's it. That's a law. But the Constitution, when they made the Declaration of Independence and made America, said maybe one day that all people will be free and be treated as equals. That's in our Constitution, and we have to.
And that sounds good in theory, doesn't it? That really
Fight
sounds
to
good.
take that. That's 100%. You can't ask Joe Biden or Donald Trump for our freedoms. We the people are the ones that have to elect and say you should, you know what I'm saying, or ourselves to run. But what the Democratic Party did was to chose twice to go against Bernie Sanders and pick Hillary Clinton, and then get Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is not black, but you see the news saying she is black. She's more black than Barack Obama. And I'm looking at all this crap, and I'm sitting with my story. How come the Democrats didn't use my story when I contact the House Oversight Committee, when I contact the FBI and my senator and everything? You look at my story. There's a cover up going on. They don't want us to know the truth. They don't want us to come together. So we need to revamp or re-understand our logic, our proof, what we know right now, because I'm telling you, with me, you're really missing some key facts with my story. I'm not saying that you're not wrong about what you're saying. You're 100% right. Everybody on here, you're 100% right. But overall, with my story and what's currently going on,
Michael,
there's not enough two-party system.
Michael,
There's
your
a
story,
one-party system.
Michael, your story is not really unique. And I say that with all due respect. Your story is the story of a lot of people. There's been a lot of people that have tried to go against or suggest that we should have a true third party and get rid of this two-party system.
No.
But let me finish. And then the reason why is because a lot of people feel the Democrat and the Republican parties are wings of the same bird. What we're saying,
exactly.
what I believe that with Steve is trying to put forth is, when you talk about the civil rights bills and amendments, how they're being, definitely up until now, how they're being attacked through big tech, big pharma. We're really losing our right to dissent. Whether it's
not
coming from the Democratic.
If my story comes out, because the reason why is because what I just explained the whole time. They've been blocking me the whole time because of what you just said. I agree with what you said because I already know. So I appreciate what you just said. Point is, Joe Biden knows, and he decided to say no. And the reason why I say that, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to shut up because we don't have that much time. I want other people to talk. Twice, the Biden administration in the Justice Department has blocked a defamation lawsuit from a woman who claimed that Donald Trump raped this woman. Joe Biden blocked that. Number two.
Oh, just say allegedly. You have to say
wait. Joe Biden blocked his Justice Department. blocked the investigation about the 10 of the Russian collusion. I'm done. Y'all continue. Now, let me say this. If he's wanting to do that, then good grief. Can you believe my story has been blocked? I'm good. If my story's been blocked, then anything else that we're complaining about, or we want to be done, or we want to fix, won't get done if Joe Biden is doing what he's doing.
Let me bring a question in here. Now, we talked a little bit about Reconstruction last time, and a lot of people nowadays are talking about reparations. Now, we know that Reconstruction was a failure. So is the idea of reparations now, do you think that is another way of trying to make everything right? And do you think that's possible? Can reparations, if we get to that, will that do what Reconstruction tried to do and failed? What do you think?
I think mainly it would be basically just instead of giving money, but opportunity for African Americans and opportunity for African Americans, especially in Chicago with the crime and everything, crime going up everywhere. People need opportunity. So I think with the infrastructure projects to make sure America is more energy efficient and to grow into the new economy, first things will work out. But you got to have people in there that they can trust. But the current people, no, it's not going to work.
Yeah. What do you think, Bob?
I don't think throwing money alone at these problems will solve anything. I think what needs to be done is hire good representatives, get rid of the old ones. People who really care about their communities, they'll do their own cleanups and their own, they'll do what they have to do to make things better for their communities.
Yeah.
I agree.
With help, with help from good people in government all the way down the line, and because good people want to help other people, I think it's
I want to say this before. I want to say this. I want to say this. I want to interrupt you. I hate interrupting, but give a little money. Because we as Black people, 400 years trying to take us back, so we deserve something, but at the same time, we deserve opportunity. Also, as equally as everybody else, everybody got to be included because we're all Americans, because we all been lied to and duped and played. So we got to take a united effort about trying to change perspective of what we're supposed to become and who we are right now overall. I went backwards, so I'll say that first and then say the first last. So forgive me about that. I had a rough night.
Yeah. Quinten, do you think reparations can accomplish what Reconstruction didn't?
Well, it's funny you asked me last. If I can get a little long-winded with this, I believe in reparative justice. I believe when John Conyers first introduced HR 40, some 30-something years ago, I think that it's still been sitting on the House desk. It's still to this day is sitting in Sheila Lee's desk, and she hasn't done anything about it. House Speaker Pelosi hasn't done anything about it. I think HR 40 needs some edits. I do believe that reparative justice should be in forms of money, but in forms of really understanding what the 40 acres and a mill would accumulate to today. I believe that this government, the excuse that we don't have the money is really wearing thin when you see that a lot of money is allocated and the blank check goes to the military industrial complex. We can continue to spend all this money for wars that we're not even fighting right now. But then when it comes to money for certain things, definitely when it goes back to a reparative justice aspect, now a lot of people say that we don't have the money. I think that it's become a talking point within some of the Democratic circles now, only because they saw a groundswell from a lot of grassroots organizations bringing it up. So now you'll hear it probably for the next 2 election cycles about it, and you hear some local governments, and this is a dangerous thing about reparations. locally, you kind of don't want it to happen. I know in Durham, North Carolina, they just started some local reparations. What happens with local reparations is it undercuts the federal reparations a lot of times. I think federally, this needs to come from even if you had a sitting president or a vice president or a House Speaker apologize for slavery.
Yep.
They've never even admitted openly
Nope.
of what happened
Nope.
and what happened and what derailed Reconstruction. I mean, Steve, the issue of you saying could reparations do what Reconstruction did? I don't even think a lot of the average Americans understand that Reconstruction, the premise was good, but it got derailed major. And then the Jim Crow laws came in, the black codes,
Yeah.
so forth, and so on. And it's kind of like, it really makes you realize, a lot of people say it, America's original sin, we've never repented for. And
We never healed from.
what happens is with the influx of immigrants, and which is I'm not against immigration, with the influx of immigrants, what happens is that now for a lot of the German settlers that may come here, that have came here in the early 1900s, they don't know anything about slavery. So they'll believe, and even some of us believe, oh, you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. I got mine from the mud. But that theory is good and I understand it. However, if you don't know the foundation of the country, you'll never understand what we need to really heal from.
Yeah.
But they never gave us boots. They never gave us boots. They never gave us boots. And I'm kind of confused when they say that. Even Martin Luther King said that. I mean, like, how the hell are you gonna give us somebody pull us by bootstraps and you're not giving us boots?
Yeah.
So overall, brother, I love you what you just said. But here's the thing: overall, the status quo right now with Democrats and Republicans, we cannot trust. This is the same game and it's now running aground. Am I exposing? It all links.
So have things really changed?
Everybody put their 2 cents in and said, no, it's not changed. It just modernized in a modernized slavery. That's their intent.
Yeah.
To paint the black man and to make sure the fathers are locked up, the mothers are in welfare and these projects and stuff like that, to paint us so bad that white folks later on, as their kids and they become grown, that we're the problem for what the reason why America is, instead of their own people. Not all white people are bad. Very small people, very small white people did the wrong against this world. Very small.
Yeah.
But you had a lot of white people stand up against that, even right now. And so right now, we need to take a stand. Joe Biden is not the answer. Kamala Harris is not the answer. The Democrats right now, the leadership is not the answer. It's the people. They represent us. If we're so divided, then you see our government is divided because they represent us. What I represent as a leader, as a presidential candidate, to show from us, to relate between me and you, no matter what color or how much money you got than me, that we're the same. And that if I convince you, then you know who you need to vote for and you need to send to Congress. And that's how democracy is supposed to work. But the two-party system has kept us and played us like a fool. Both sides. Both on the Republican side, but right now, with Joe Biden. On the Joe Biden.
Steve,
so we need to change, we need to come together.
Steve, one of the things that and you're Steve, I would say that you and Michael are politicians, and me and Bob would not be. I'll say that majority of Americans.
I'm a statesman.
Okay. Majority of Americans are, because of the last president, what happened, they got politically overflowed. and they're overwhelmed. So nobody really wants to talk about politics now until the midterms. And what happens is that most people now, they really don't care what's going on. I really hate to say it, that people don't care about laws.
No,
People don't
no,
care.
no,
Like,
no, no,
Michael,
you're wrong.
Michael, could you just
They're
let me
tired.
finish?
They're tired.
This is what I'm saying,
They're
Michael.
tired.
Let Quinten finish, Michael.
They're tired.
They're in overload so
Okay,
much.
you're right. You're right. Go ahead. Sorry.
They're in overload so much that they don't care. They don't care. Like, one thing that the pandemic has made a lot of people realize is, you could tell them about statistics about unemployment, people getting all this extra money. Nobody cares about that. People just want to be left alone. They want to go to work or whatever every day. And they're not really understanding what is going on, because we've been bombarded with this stuff for the last 3.5 years so much that they don't care. They literally don't care. So I don't think we're changing. I have hope. I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of hope. I don't think that it's getting any better.
I agree with you.
Oh God, no!
It seems to me like
I
the whole
disagree with you,
thing,
brother. I'm
it's-
sorry.
even since before the Civil War, it seems what we did, we changed the language, we changed the system to look different. But I wonder, I mean, still today, supposedly the civil rights movement ended back in the late 60s, supposedly, and still there. We're still there. Nothing.
But
I
they
don't
took
see
us
that
back.
anything has
They
really
took
changed
us back.
fundamentally. What we've done, we've changed the package and we've changed the language, right or wrong?
They change the whole reality of it, but it's still the same thing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So we may think it's different, but behind the scenes, they change it to think that it's really the same for them, but for us, it's different on the surface.
Yeah.
So overall, we have to wake up and realize that we need to change and come together. That's why that's the one thing the government is threatening about. Blacks and whites, Indians, Asians, everybody come together and overthrow everybody that's has had a hand to keep us separated. That's the only way we can do it. That's how true democracy works. And I believe running for president, and as long as I have good people like you, Steve, and everybody else on there, that we can communicate and talk openly, then we can find the answers, and then we can present it to the American people for them to say, man, that sounds better than what we've been hearing all this long.
Yeah.
So that's all I got to say.
I was hoping we could get into talking a lot about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. I think maybe we should save that for next time, because there's no way we can really do the civil rights movement justice in one show.
Can I do that? Yeah, I can do it in 2 minutes. I can do it in 2 minutes.
I just hold
2
on a
minutes.
second. Let me say something here, brother.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Quinten put a poem on his Facebook page earlier, written by a very talented young lady. The poem was about Dr. King. And Quinten, why don't you go ahead and let that play, and we'll get into talking more detail about Dr. King, Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X next week.
Let me know if it's too loud.
Okay.
Let me know if it's too loud.
39, A Piece by Jules All Day.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
I wonder if they knew when they held you in their arms
Yeah.
that they had really given birth to a king. Acceptance into Morehouse College at 15, assistant pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church at 19, doctorate in theology at 26, first public address to the nation at 28, dead at 39. I wonder if they knew that when you began to follow the path of equality, at your funeral they'd sing. Prayer vigils, jail. Sit-ins, jail. Marches, jail. Demonstrations, jail. Nonviolence, nonviolence, nonviolence. and yet you were faced with bombs. I wonder if anyone has ever paused to imagine what it must have been like to live in your skin, aspiring to peace with death and spit and dogs and guns akin. Oh, what turmoil you must have faced, beloved. How did you find the hope within? Man of the Year at 34, managing riots and Watts and wars in Vietnam at 36, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, 36, 37, 38, dead at 39. I wonder if you know that when we pause to reflect upon the life and legacy you left behind, we honor you. We see you on the mountaintop, adorned in your white robe, trimmed with gilded gold. We hear the whispers of your words echoed upon the face of this systematically stratified, traumatized, hypnotized, and isolated globe. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, you are free at last. I hope you know that although we all may not be able to walk your walk, we shall indeed walk your path. Arms locked, masked up, policy and legislation in hand, hoping one day to wake up, no longer having to dream, but actually being able to say, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. 39, 39, 39, 39.
I love her poem. She is brilliant. And what was her name again, Quinten?
Her name is author Julia Dozier.
Okay. She is a great poet. I love that, and I love the one she did about Malcolm X also.
She did that during Black History Month.
Did she?
Really was like a week's notice. I asked her for a poem, and she gave us two for the month.
Okay, very good.
Very, very talented young lady.
Yes, she is. Well, gentlemen, I've enjoyed our conversation. And like I said, I don't think we could even do the civil rights movement justice by trying to get it all into one show. So can we just talk about it again next week? How's that sound?
Great.
Okay. Bob?
Sure. One other person I need to mention too is Jesse Owens. What he did in the Olympics was heroic.
Yeah, I have a unique story, Bob, about Jesse Owens. One of his rivals in the United States is from the town that I grew up in. He probably would have been on that relay team that they had, but he kept getting injured. He's considered the greatest athlete that ever came out of the small town in New Jersey I came from.
What town was that?
Union, New Jersey. His name is Ulysses Peacock. Yeah.
I think me and Michael kind of drowned each other out on that one. But who is this Jesse Owens now? Fill me in on that.
Jesse Owens was the sprinter for the Americans in the Olympics in Berlin in front of Adolf Hitler in 1936 when Adolf Hitler was trying to push his master race. And Jesse Owens won the 100 meters and a bunch of relays and broke a couple of world records. And all while Hitler was sitting there, and Hitler was so aggravated by it, he walked out. And it's a moment that lives in a Olympic and American history. It was fantastic.
Okay. Michael, I see your lips moving, brother, but we don't hear you. We don't hear you, Michael.
Yeah, you got to connect with his Ethernet.
It was what the gentleman said about Jesse Owens. about Hitler when he witnessed Jesse Owens win in the Olympics. He should have known that he couldn't beat America. Common sense.
Spoken like a true American. Very good, brother.
Damn right.
Well, gentlemen, thank you all for being my guests tonight, and I hope that you all can come back next week and we will continue on. I really want to talk about some of the great civil rights leaders like Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and a few others if y'all
Hey,
can.
Steve. Hey,
Yeah.
Steve, can I say this? Almost forgot that there was the statue of Robert E. Lee. He's my cousin. Guy took it down today
Yeah,
or yesterday, right?
yeah,
So I want to speak on that for like 30 seconds.
okay,
He's my cousin, Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee, after the Civil War, said that do not erect no statues about me or any of these soldiers because we were wrong. We went against our country. And then 100 years after they died, that's when Jim Crow and the statues came up. And now look what happened today in Charlottesville, Virginia.
yeah,
My cousin's statue went down because they told him not to erect it. Now it's put down.
yeah.
And as a Black man, I feel good. I mean, I'm blood kin to Robert E. Lee. So if he was alive, he would say, y'all should never put it up.
Well, all right, fellas, thank you very much for your time, your comments, and I really enjoyed it, and we'll do it again next time. So I
All
hope
right,
you all have a great week.
Great. Have a good week, everybody.
All right, same to you guys. All right.
Same to y'all. Take care. God bless.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to Conversations About America. Please tune in each and every Sunday evening for your weekly dose of educational entertainment. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.